35K family adventure exposed. My sister's shocking secret at the airport changed everything. Sarah Johnson could hardly believe it after all her hard work waiting tables. She was finally taking her children, Emily and Jake, on the long-anticipated vacation they deserved. After sacrificing little things here and there over the last few years, she had saved a jaw-dropping $35,000. Now they stood on the brink of a grand adventure. A trip that promised to heal their wounds from the recent family tragedy that had shaken them to the core. Excitement buzzed in the air as they entered the bustling airport, with bright lights and happy chaos illuminating their path. But that excitement abruptly teetered into chaos when out of the crowd, her estranged sister Kate appeared. Disheveled, lost, and desperate, she stumbled into their lives with a revelation that jolted through Sarah like a lightning bolt. "I'm falling apart, I need your help," came the shaky plea. The words hung over them like a thundercloud, dousing the sunny anticipation of their vacation with doubt and fear. Emily, the heart of the family, felt a flicker of hope alongside her confusion. She remembered the stories of her aunt, the laughter that once filled their home. It clashed with the hurt she had felt when Kate's choices took her away. Jake, on the other hand, clenched his fists, anger flaring deep inside. Memories of sleepless nights during their mother's struggles against bills and loneliness flashed in his mind. How could she appear now, having ripped their family apart in the past? As they stood there, caught between fear and loyalty, the very air around them shifted. Sarah battled the heavy lump in her throat, the resentment that twisted like a vine in her heart towards the sister who had abandoned them when they needed her most. The airport, always a place of joyous departures and heartfelt reunions, had transformed into a battlefield where love and loyalty wrestled with past grievances. "Mom," Emily whispered, her voice a mix of compassion and concern. "What do we do? She's family." It was a question loaded with weight heavier than the suitcases they carried. Just as Sarah opened her mouth to respond, the buzzing surrounding them faded, leaving a chilling silence. She wrestled with the answer that loomed large in her mind. Should she protect her children from the haunting shadows of their aunt's past? Or should she embrace Kate and risk everything they worked so hard to build? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. As the tension hung thick around them, Emily stepped closer to Kate. "What if we don't help her? What will that mean for us?" Her question pierced through the silence like a gunshot. Each member of the Johnson family felt the weight of that statement, the implications reverberating deep within. They stood at a crossroads where healing and heartbreak mirrored each other. Every heart in that small circle was racing, each wishing for clarity yet dreading the answer. As they searched each other's eyes, the confusion morphed into something deeper, a yearning for understanding and connection. Would they rise from this moment renewed? Or would the past continue to haunt them? The air was electric, laden with the promise of both hope and heartache. Sarah's heart pounded wildly as her gaze darted between her children and Kate. The tension felt like a rubber band stretched to its limits, ready to snap. Despite the tiredness painted on her sister's face, Sarah caught the flicker of vulnerability in Kate's eyes. It reminded her of the girl she once knew, full of laughter and wild dreams, before life cracked her armor. "Kate," Sarah finally said, her voice trembling, "why now? You left us. You walked away from everything." The accusation hung heavily in the air, sharp and bitter. "I know," Kate whispered, shrugging her shoulders as if to shake off the past. "I thought I could manage on my own. I don't know what I thought. I thought I was protecting you." Her voice cracked slightly, revealing layers of remorse buried deep inside. "Protecting us?" Jake scoffed, crossing his arms defiantly. "You think abandoning your family was protection?" Emily started softly, placing a hand on her brother's arm. She understood the anger and frustration. They were emotions she shared. But deep down, she felt a flicker of compassion for the woman standing before them. "Let her talk," she urged. "I've been battling my demons," Kate said, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. "I lost myself in the process and did awful things. I'm trying to make things right. I'm lost now, and I need you, both of you. Tension shifted, replaced by an unsteady silence. Sarah's heart ached at the sight of her sister. The edges of sorrow were sharp, but the remnants of warmth from their shared childhood lingered, begging for forgiveness. Beneath the hurt, there was an opportunity for renewal. Could she really extend the olive branch, knowing how it might affect her kids? Our life has been hard, Kate, Sarah said, her voice breaking slightly. This trip was supposed to be about healing for my children, for us. Maybe it still can be, Kate argued, taking a step closer. I want to change. I want to be a part of your lives again. I can't undo the past, but I can try to be better. Just let me in. Give me a chance. Emotions tangled in Sarah's chest. Emily's eyes reflected a mixture of hope and fear, while Jake remained rigid, his expression dark. And what if you mess up again? He asked, the bitterness in his tone unmistakable. I don't know, Kate replied, her voice heavy with sincerity. But I want to run. Promise. Just please. Let me show you. Let me show you who I've become. Sarah studied her sister's face, watching for the slightest hint of deception. There's a lot at stake, she warned. It was true. They had built a life capable of laughter and joy. The thought of it being shaken again made her stomach twist. But as she looked at her children, holding on to each other like a shared lifeline, she knew they needed this moment. If we do this, you'll have to start fresh. There are no shortcuts, no more running. We need honesty. Can you do that? Can you commit? Kate nodded, a silent war raging in her heart, but determination sparkled in her eyes. Yes, just please give me a chance. As they stood in that crowded airport, a familiar bittersweet tension hung in the air. A choice was made not just for Kate, but for all of them. Sarah took a deep breath, and with it came an overwhelming sense of possibility. They were on the brink, teetering between the past and a new future. Just then the loudspeaker crackled, announcing their flight's boarding time, slicing through the fragile moment. The reality of the vacation loomed ahead. Relief washed over Sarah, entangled with doubt. Would they head onto the plane, leaving the past behind? Or would this moment launch them into deeper turmoil? As she clutched her kids' hands tightly, a thought ripped through her mind. Was their family ready for this journey, both into the skies and into the unknown of second chances? As they made their way to the boarding gate, Sarah's thoughts drifted like the clouds above. She watched her children, their small hands wrapped tightly around hers, pulling her forward. Jake's brow was still furrowed, while Emily glanced back at Kate, unsure how to process everything they'd just heard. Despite the tension, there was a flicker of hope resting in the air, and it tugged at Sarah's heart. They waited in line, the hum of conversations around them creating a canvas of life moving ahead. Suddenly, a loud laugh broke the monotony, a couple nearby joking about travel mishaps. For a brief moment Sarah yearned to join them, to feel the joy and lightness. But that feeling felt distant. Instead, she turned her attention to Kate, who stood awkwardly a few paces behind them, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. Are you okay? Sarah called back, her heart clenching at the sight of her sister's uncertain face. Kate managed a small nod, but the tremor in her lips told a different story. Just trying to take it in. It's overwhelming. Jake shot his mother a glance, skepticism still etched on his face. Shouldn't we just leave? She's going to screw everything up again. There was an edge to his voice, one that echoed the 5 years of hurt and abandonment. Jake, Sarah warned, but the urgency in Kate's eyes made her pause. She needed to tread carefully. There was too much at stake now. Too much unspoken love beneath the anger. How about we sit down before we board? She suggested softly. Just for a minute? The four of them found an empty bank of seats near their gate. As they settled down, the reality of the situation pressed heavy. Uniting with Kate felt like connecting the dots of a puzzle. But there were pieces missing: the anger, the betrayal, the fragmented family ties. Listen, Kate began, her voice steady yet unguarded. I know I've got a lot to prove. I'm not asking for forgiveness right now, just a little understanding. This is new for me too. Emily's eyes sparkled with warmth. Maybe we can take it one day at a time? It's not like we have to fix everything now. Jake rolled his eyes but didn't protest. There was a vulnerability creeping into the conversation, and despite his anger, he felt the weight of possibility. Can we start with small steps? Sarah suggested. hoping this could lead them toward connection. Maybe we assign a day during this trip for us to do something as a family just like we used to. Something fun? Emily chimed in. Yeah, Kate replied, a tentative smile creeping onto her lips. Like a day at the beach? We could build sandcastles, paddle in the water. Sounds great, right? Sarah encouraged, pressing against the ache in her heart. Jake remained silent, casting down his gaze. He glanced at the boarding sign, as if the escape could solve their tangled mess. All right, he finally said, taking a deep breath. One day at the beach. But if you screw this up again, I'm done. An uneasy silence fell. Sarah's heart raced. Words held immense power, and yet they felt like a fragile bridge. We can do it, Kate urged, her voice steady. Whatever it takes to rebuild things. Just give me that chance. As they prepared to board, Sarah couldn't shake the tightness in her chest. They were heading towards the unknown. A journey full of hope but also coiled promises of disappointment. And then, just as they stood to line up, a sharp cry of surprise erupted from the crowd. Sarah turned instinctively, her heart leaping into her throat. A woman had fainted, her bag spilling across the floor as a wave of chaos surged around the gate. Stay here, Sarah commanded, her maternal instincts kicking in, and she rushed forward through the growing commotion. Was this the kind of overload they didn't need right now? As she parted the sea of bodies, a single thought pierced through her mind. This trip was meant for healing, but what if it opened a Pandora's box of complications instead? Could this unexpected moment draw them closer, or push them further apart? The path ahead felt murkier than ever. Sarah weaved through the crowd, her pulse racing. The woman lay sprawled on the floor, a crumpled heap of designer clothes and scattered items. Panic washed over her as she approached, but she pushed it aside. She knelt beside the woman, her hands shaking but steady. Can you hear me? Sarah asked, voice firm yet gentle. The woman's eyes fluttered open, confusion mixing with fear. A few people had gathered, murmuring behind her. I don't know what happened, the woman stammered, her voice faint. You fainted. Just breathe. Help is on the way, Sarah reassured her, glancing back to see if Emily and the others were following. Jake had his arms crossed, hovering close to Emily, a protective barrier against the world spinning out of control around them. Mom! Emily shouted, eyes wide with worry. Is she okay? Just give me a second, Sarah replied, keeping her focus on the woman. It felt as if time slowed around them, a bubble where nothing else mattered. The chaos outside faded, leaving only this beat of life, the heartbeat between them. Moments later, airport staff arrived, guiding the bystanders away. Relief flooded through Sarah as one of the attendants crouched beside her, assessing the woman's condition. Thank you for your help, the attendant said, flashing a grateful smile. We can take over from here. Sarah stepped back, her heart still racing as she turned toward her children. Jake was scowling, his brow knit tightly. Why did you run off like that? He asked, his tone dripping with frustration. I couldn't just stand by and do nothing, she replied softly, wanting to chase away the cloud of tension between them. People need help sometimes and we can be there for them. Yeah, but we didn't come here to be heroes, Jake shot back. We came here to start over, remember? His voice cracked slightly, revealing the fragility beneath his bravado. Kate watched the scene unfold, guilt pouring over her like a cold wave. She felt out of place but wanted to bridge the gap Jake had opened. Yes, right, but it was brave of you, Sarah. You always cared for others, she said, surprising herself. Thanks, Sarah replied, her heart swelling with appreciation at Kate's unexpected support. Let us refocus, Emily suggested. We're about to board and I still want that beach day. We can figure this out, right? Yeah, let us focus on us, Sarah agreed, hoping to steer their energies toward the tentative plan they had made. One small step at a time, okay? They made their way to the boarding gate, the mood shifting but still shaky. As they moved forward, the echo of uncertainty lingered, just as thick as the promises of healing. The flight was called and they shuffled into line, each of them holding their breath. Sarah sensed a tightness in Jake and the swirling emotions in her chest, but she caught a glimpse of Kate's hopeful face. There was a flicker of hope there, something she hadn't expected as they boarded. A sudden shrill beep echoed through the terminal. The lights flickered, and the overhead screens went dark. Attention passengers, came an urgent voice. We're experiencing a brief technical difficulty. Please remain calm. A ripple of concern swept through the crowd. Sarah's heart sank. This wasn't the distraction they needed. Great, just another thing adding to the chaos, Jake groaned, frustration clear in his voice. Just a minor setback, Sarah replied, attempting to inject some positivity into the moment. But then, just as she turned, her eyes caught Kate's. There was a look there that sent chills racing up Sarah's spine, something between fear and excitement. What are you thinking? Sarah asked, her voice a whisper. Kate opened her mouth, hesitating as the air thickened with expectation. There's something I need to tell you. That moment hung suspended, teetering on the edge of revelation, and Sarah felt her stomach drop. What could her sister possibly reveal now? The truth loomed ahead like a storm cloud ready to burst, and Sarah could only brace herself for its impact. Kate took a deep breath, her hands trembling at her sides. The cacophony of the airport faded into a dull hum as the weight of her secret pressed down upon her. Sarah's heart raced, awareness flooding through her veins. Whatever this was, it felt monumental. Kate, just tell me, she urged, her voice barely above a whisper. The anxiety in her chest tightened like a vice. With an urgent nod, Kate stepped closer, her eyes darting cautiously around. I don't know how to say this, but I've been having money problems, she blurted out, worry lacing her features. Sarah blinked, her mind racing. Money problems? They all had them to an extent. Was that all? No, it's more than that, Kate continued, lowering her voice even further, her face pale. I took out a loan, a really big one. I thought I could pay it back with the money from the house sale. But she trailed off, and Sarah felt a knot form in her stomach. But what? Sarah pressed, the urgency in her tone sharpening. Kate looked desperate, her eyes glistening. But I didn't sell the house. Not yet. I thought we'd have more time before leaving town. I didn't want to worry you. A bewildered silence loomed between them. The air felt electric, charged with unaddressed fears. Sarah's chest tightened as the realization sank in. Jake would blow up when he found out. Why didn't you tell me sooner? She asked, her voice thick with concern. We could have figured something out together. All of us. I know. Kate pleaded, fingers twisting nervously. I thought I could fix it before anyone noticed, but now with the move and everything, it spiraled out of control. I'm in deep, Sarah. In the distance, the announcement system crackled again, shuffling through the chaotic environment, but its words felt distant and irrelevant. All Sarah could think about was her sister's confession. Do you have a plan? Sarah asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Kate shook her head. Not really. I'm scared. If Jake finds out, it'll tear everything apart. I thought if we could just get to the beach, maybe we could enjoy some time away before facing the truth. Just be normal for a moment. Sarah felt her mind racing. They were about to step into a new life, but how could they do that when they were standing on the edge of a financial disaster? She wished for the simplicity of having everything sorted out, but reality loomed heavy. Mom, are we going or what? Jake called from a distance, his voice slicing through the tension like a knife. His impatience cracked the safety of their bubble, reminding Sarah of the stakes. Let us figure this out when we land, she urged Kate, squeezing her sister's hand reassuringly. For now, just keep it between us. We've faced worse, remember? Kate nodded, relief intermingled with the lingering fear in her eyes. As they moved toward the gate, Sarah's heart felt simultaneously heavy and hopeful. She had to give Jake some time to digest what Kate had shared, but part of her wondered how deep this rabbit hole went. The looming truth of their situation hung like storm clouds, threatening to unfurl. Sarah needed to find a way to navigate this family mess without losing anyone in the process. Can we finally just relax? Jake grumbled, shifting impatiently. We weren't supposed to drag bad news on an airplane. But Sarah's mind churned with questions, each more pressing than the last. What if Kate's secret spiraled out of control? Could they hold everything together when their lives felt like a tightrope walk? Just hold on, she whispered, her heart racing anew. We may be in for a bumpy ride. The plane door blocked their next steps. But the real journey of fight for understanding and healing was only just beginning. What awaited them on the other side of the flight could change everything. As they settled into their seats on the plane, a sense of unease hung thick in the air. Sarah felt every little bump of turbulence, as if the plane were jolting through the chaos in her mind. She glanced at Jake beside her, his eyes glued to a video on his phone, blissfully unaware of the storm swirling in the family. She wished she could trade places with him, to be wrapped up in mindless entertainment instead of grappling with the reality of their situation. Is it really okay? Kate whispered, looking over at Jake. Her voice was barely audible over the humming engines. Yeah, just let us try to keep things normal for now, Sarah replied, gathering her thoughts. Maybe get through this trip, enjoy some beach time, and then we can tackle it. Kate nodded, but the look on her face revealed her doubt. What if Jake brings it up? You know how he is. He won't tea unless we give him a reason to. Just keep your head down, Sarah encouraged. Focus on the beach and relaxing. We need that. As the plane took off, Sarah closed her eyes briefly, feeling the lift beneath them. The sensation of being airborne felt momentarily freeing, as if the burdens of their life were being left behind. But she knew that wasn't true. Underneath her excitement for the trip lay a heaviness, the weight of their reality that she could not ignore. Halfway through the flight, Jake leaned over. Are we there yet? His impatience broke through Sarah's thoughts, yanking her back into the present. Just a couple more hours. We'll be at the beach before you know it, she replied, forcing a smile. Can't wait to swim, he said, enthusiasm bubbling over. It was infectious, and Sarah felt a flicker of hope stirring within her. Maybe the beach could provide a bit of escape, a chance to forget their problems, if only for a little while. But as the hours passed, the anxiety gnawed inside her. It was late evening when they finally landed, the air thick with humidity and the scent of salt. Sarah watched through the airplane window as they rolled up to the gate, anxious to step out into the warm embrace of the unfamiliar. Once off the plane, they made their way to baggage claim. Sarah glanced at Kate, who seemed lost in thought. Hey, let us grab some ice cream first before we head to the hotel, she suggested, trying to lighten the mood. Yeah, okay, Kate replied weakly, but the effort in her voice felt forced. Jake, however, was already bouncing ahead. I call the biggest scoop, he shouted, lunging toward the nearest ice cream stand as they hurried to catch up. Sarah took a moment to catch her breath. The vibrant colors and laughter swirling around them faded into mere noise. Her mind was racing. What if they didn't find a way to resolve Kate's issues before they had to return? They took their orders and found a table outside, the air buzzing with joy and energy. Sarah watched Jake devour his cone, while Kate picked at hers, lost in thought. There was silence between the three of them, a stark contrast to the lively atmosphere surrounding them. Mom, did you hear what I said? Jake finally broke through the silence. I can't wait to dive into that ocean. It's going to be amazing. Sarah smiled at his excitement. Yeah, I'm sure it will be. Kate's eyes flicked up, and for a brief moment, Sarah saw a flicker of hope mixed with fear. Yeah, it's just, I hope we can enjoy it, she mumbled. Of course we can. Nothing can stop us, Jake said, his confidence bubbling over. We're all together. But Sarah felt a pang in her heart. They were together, yes, but at what cost? As the ice cream dripped slowly down their cones, Sarah realized that their beach getaway might be more than just a break. It was a countdown, each melting drop signaling the approach of a reckoning they couldn't avoid forever. Suddenly, Kate's phone buzzed and she glanced down at it, the color draining from her face. Thunder rumbled somewhere far off, a reminder of the storm that loomed over their heads. What is it? Sarah asked, anxiety gripping her chest. I just got a notification about the loan, Kate whispered, her voice shaky before Sarah could respond. The world around them felt like it paused. She could see the worry etched on her sister's face, and a new wave of fear washed over her. They might have just stepped into paradise, but it was clear now paradise had its shadows. What were they facing next? The moment hung in the air, charged with uncertainty. Sarah's heart raced as she slid closer to Kate, her voice barely above a whisper. What did the notification say? Kate was frozen, her fingers gripping the phone as if it were a lifeline. It's about the repayment terms. We're already late. If we don't figure this out soon, she trailed off, eyes darting to Jake, who was obliviously chasing seagulls nearby. A lump formed in Sarah's throat. Maybe it's not as bad as you think? Sarah suggested, trying to inject some optimism. But doubt lingered. They'd known this trip was about more than just sun and sand. It was a break from reality, an attempt to patch things over before they spiraled beyond repair. Kate's expression shifted. What if they decide to take legal action? We can't afford that, not now. The beach buzzed in the distance as laughter filled the air, a stark contrast to the heavy silence that loomed at their table. Sarah took a deep breath and forced a smile. I know it feels overwhelming, but we'll tackle it together after this trip. But deep down, she wondered how they could enjoy this vacation when reality loomed like an angry thundercloud overhead. Jake returned, sticky fingers and a big grin. Did I miss something? Can we go to the beach now? Please. His excitement pulled at Sarah's heartstrings, wanting to protect him from the worry swirling around them. Of course. Let us go, she said a bit too enthusiastically, hoping it would mask her unease as they made their way down to the beach. The sand stretched ahead like a golden promise. The ocean's waves, bright blue and invigorating, crashed against the shore, echoing the joy of summer vacations past. Jake sprinted ahead, flinging his arms about, laughter ringing out like music. Catch me if you can, he yelled, darting off toward the waves. For a moment, the fresh sea air cleared Sarah's mind. She watched Jake splash in the water, his joy infectious, and her heart softened. But Kate lingered back, standing unsure on the shore's edge, her expression caught between hopes of freedom and dread of reality. Kate, come on. It's beautiful. Sarah beckoned, wanting to pull her sister into the joy of the moment. Slowly, Kate stepped forward, but her eyes scanned the horizon instead of joining the fun. I don't want to get too comfortable. What are you afraid of? Sarah probed gently, sensing the weight still clinging to Kate. Kate glanced back toward the ice cream stand, the salty breeze tousling her hair. That it's just going to come crashing down, like it always does. Tension hung in the air, uninvited. Sarah took a breath. We're not alone in this. Remember when we faced the eviction before, how we pulled through together? Yeah, but this feels different. What if we can't do it again? Just then Jake shouted, Mom. Look. He stood knee-deep in water, arms raised, demanding attention like a joyful little king. Sarah glanced at him, then back at Kate. Let us focus on today. Tomorrow can wait. We can't let fear ruin this. Kate nodded, taking one determined step toward her brother. The playful spirit of the beach began to seep back into her as they joined Jake, the sun beaming down, glistening on the water. Laughter bubbled up, slowly washing away the seriousness that had clung to them for so long. Sarah felt the lightness of the moment settle over them, but in the back of her mind, she knew there was still a storm waiting. As they splashed and played in the waves, Sarah's phone buzzed in her pocket. She hesitated, instinctively knowing it was another message about the loan. But she ignored it, choosing to focus instead on the laughter and freedom around her. But deep down, lurking like the upcoming tide, she realized they couldn't swim against what was coming forever. When the inevitable came crashing down, would they still be together to face it? And as Jake squealed with delight catching a wave, a new notification flashed on Sarah's phone, a reminder that the shadows of reality were never far away. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the horizon in shades of orange and pink, the beach transformed into a canvas of silhouettes and golden beams. Laughter danced on the waves, mingling with the distant calls of seagulls. But Sarah couldn't shake the weight pressing on her chest. Sarah! Jake squealed, his tiny body bursting from the water, droplets sparkling in the evening light. Can we build a sandcastle? Sure, let us do it. She smiled, willing herself to shift focus, but her heart remained tangled in that notification. They settled on a spot where the sand was warm and pliable. Jake's eagerness radiated, inspiring Sarah to grab a nearby bucket and mold. She shaped walls and towers, her hands working as if to build a fortress against their troubles. You're making it too weak on that side, Kate chimed in, her tone teasingly critical, and for the first time, Sarah caught a glimmer of a genuine smile on her sister's face. It'll fall over in one wave. I'll reinforce it, came her quick reply, her voice confident despite the anxiety simmering beneath. Jake laughed, Mom, you're a great architect. He paused, his brows furrowing slightly. What's wrong with Aunt Kate? Kate looked away for a moment, her smile fading. Just thinking about stuff, bud. Sometimes grown-up things are silly. I'm not silly. Jake protested, his eyes wide. Sarah exchanged a concerned look with Kate. Of course not. You're the smartest, Sarah assured him, brushing away the shadows that threatened to ruin their moment. A thrill of hope spiraled in her. Perhaps it was the childlike optimism Jake brought with him as twilight settled. They huddled close, admiring their castle. Jake declared it the fortress of happiness, and for an instant, the weight of the world felt lighter. They broke for snacks, Kate rummaging through the cooler while Sarah wiped beach sand from her hands. "Are we going to be okay?" Jake asked suddenly, his innocent eyes searching theirs. Sarah felt her heart ache. "Of course we are. Just like this castle, we'll hold strong no matter what waves come our way." But Kate bit her lip, whispering under her breath, "But what if it crumbles?" The unspoken truth lingered in the air. Sarah wished she could reassure her sister. "Let us make a memory tonight, not stress. Tomorrow we face it," she vowed, forcing brightness back into her voice. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again, this time a persistent vibration that felt much more urgent than before. She glanced at the screen and froze. "It's from the bank," she mouthed, panic flaring in her chest. "Do you have to check it?" Kate asked, her voice strained. "No." Sarah shook her head, as if trying to shake off her worries. "Not now. Eat your sandwich, Mom," Jake said, oblivious to the tension. "I'll race you to the water." The call of excitement resonated in him, inviting them to join. Without thinking, Sarah jumped to her feet. "Okay, let us go." She took a step toward the shore with Jake, but Kate hesitated, looking at the phone then back at Sarah. "Wait, do you really think we're okay?" "We are." Sarah insisted but felt the cracks forming. "Then update me after swimming?" "Fine." With that agreement, Sarah dashed after Jake. The two of them laughed, splashing through the shallow waves, freeing themselves from the haunting thoughts lingering in the back of their minds. Yet in the heart of her carefree laughter, Sarah could still feel the tide of uncertainty turning, a storm brewing just out of sight. Just as the water began to swell, and they spun in circles, she glanced back toward the shore where Kate stood, half in, half out, a silhouette against a fading sunset. What awaited them when the sun finally set was unknown, but she could sense the fateful waves were about to break. Would they find the strength to weather what was coming? Or would this attempt to escape reality only lead to a deeper fall? As the sky grew darker, her phone buzzed yet again, an unsettling reminder of the unresolved storm that loomed ahead. The setting sun withdrew its golden embrace, plunging the beach into a twilight haze. Sarah was running through the water with Jake, and for a moment, the chaos of her life faded. She watched her son, his laughter carried by the wind, and her heart swelled with love. But even amidst the joy, the notification on her phone loomed like a storm cloud. "Mommy! Look!" Jake splashed a wave toward her, drenching her in salty droplets. His laughter was infectious, but each chuckle chipped away at her facade. She played along, scooping water and tossing it back at him, but her heart remained heavy with dread. "Let us swim out a bit deeper," Jake called, his little arms already propelling him toward shin-deep water. "Okay, just be careful." Sarah's voice was laced with mama bear instinct, echoing across the waves. She felt the warmth of the evening breeze against her skin, a gentle reminder of the happiness that still existed, even if it felt so fragile. Meanwhile, Kate perched on a nearby beach towel, still watching the phone in her hand as if it held the secrets of the universe. The colors of the sunset reflected in her anxious eyes. "Are you coming in, Kate?" Sarah called over the splashes of water, her heart wishing for her sister to join them. "Just a minute. I'm enjoying the view." Kate's voice was tight as she avoided Sarah's questioning gaze. Ignoring the unease, Sarah splashed Jake. "What do you think we should build next? A bigger fortress? A pirate ship?" Jake laughed, arms out wide. "All right, Captain. To the sand." Sarah grinned, her spirit rising with the fun. They jogged back to their sandy kingdom while Kate continued to linger, the worry growing heavier around her as they gathered their supplies. Sarah noticed Kate's expression, tension held in her furrowed brow and biting lip. A knot formed in Sarah's stomach. She wanted to be the anchor for her sister, but how could she when her own life felt so unsteady? "Jake, why don't you start digging?" she suggested, hoping to draw Kate back into their world of imagination. But her sister remained trapped in her thoughts, scrolling through the dreaded messages on her phone. "Mom, I found a seashell." Jake held up a small treasure, gleaming against his palm. "Can we keep it?" "Of course. It's perfect." Sarah beamed, pouring encouragement into her words. Jake raced to the water's edge, yelling back to Kate, "Hey Aunt Kate, look!" His innocence was a vivid contrast to the worry framing Kate's face. The tension in Sarah tugged at her with each passing minute. "Kate, if you keep staring at that phone, you'll miss this whole evening," she managed to finally say, her voice softer, more pleading than she intended. I can't, Kate replied tightly, finally dropping the screen. There's things I need to figure out. We both do. The weight of her words landed hard. Just then, out of the corner of her eye, Sarah spotted something. The sinking light revealed a flurry of seagulls gathering along the water's edge, diving for scraps left behind. An odd sense of foreboding crept into her mind. Jake, come back, she called, suddenly anxious. The waves were drawing closer, and her feeling of security began to wane with the light. But Jake was relentless, running toward the birds. Look, they're playing, he shouted, blissfully unaware of the tension brewing around him. Just then, Sarah's phone buzzed again, vibrating violently in the sand. Each buzz echoed her anxiety. Each fleeting moment her curtain of calm began to fray. With each instant, she felt a mix of panic growing and an urgency to face what awaited her, or keep the walls of her fortress of happiness intact, however temporary it may be. Sarah, please check it, Kate urged, her eyes pleading, desperate for guidance as uncertainty loomed like the twilight sky above them. Sarah felt the cracks in her fortress deepen. If she didn't confront the source of their troubles, the castle they built, along with her family, risked collapsing. But was she ready for what that would bring? As shadows stretched longer, Sarah hesitated again, caught between the joy of the moment and the fear of the next. What awaited them on the other side of the evening might change everything they knew. The darkness settled in around them, the sun disappearing entirely behind the horizon, painting the sky with deep blues and purples. The vibrant warmth of the day slipped away along with that fleeting sense of security. Sarah's heart raced as she finally yielded and pulled out her phone, the screen illuminating her face with a pale glow. The notification stared back at her, stark and merciless. Loan past due. Immediate action required. Those words felt like a gut punch. She could almost hear the clock ticking, counting down the seconds until everything fell apart. The beach, once a sanctuary echoing with laughter, morphed into an unsteady battleground where the past and future collided. What's wrong? Kate's voice broke through her thoughts, laced with worry as she stepped closer. Jake was still chasing the seagulls, blissfully unaware of the brewing storm. Sarah could see her sister's desperation etched on her face. It was familiar yet foreign, like a reflection in a broken mirror. Just a reminder from the bank, Sarah finally said, trying to keep her voice steady, to not allow the weight of it all to crush her. We need to talk. Kate's face paled, reality crashing in. Can we just enjoy this night first? That hope still clinging to them both was flickering like a candle threatened by the wind. Kate, we can't wait anymore, Sarah said firmly, sensing the urgency rising in her veins. If we don't handle this now, we may lose everything, even this trip. The seriousness in her tone sliced through the moment. Her sister nodded, biting her lip, uncertainty reflecting in her eyes as tension swirled around them. All right, let us sit over there. She pointed toward a bench along the shore, far enough from their chaotic beach but close enough to feel the waves kiss their feet. Finally, they gathered their things and made their way, each step heavy with the weight of unresolved emotions and the uncertainty looming in the distance. Jake realized they were breaking away from the action and trotted behind them, curiosity plastered on his face. Are we done playing? He asked, confusion in his voice. No, buddy, just a quick family chat, Sarah reassured him, squeezing his hand as they settled down. Jake positioned himself between them, his innocent optimism clashing with the gravity of the moment as the wind whipped around them. Sarah's heart raced as she broke the silence. Kate, I think it's best if we lay everything on the table. We can't pretend everything is okay anymore. Kate nodded slowly, her eyes focused on Jake, who swung his legs back and forth, totally unaware. You're right, she admitted, her voice shaking. I've been holding on to this secret, just thinking it could resolve itself, but it's gotten worse. The three of them sat in a bubble of silence, the ocean waves crashing rhythmically against the shore as if in sync with the chaos brewing inside them. Sarah couldn't suppress the rush of fear as she initiated the hard talk. Just tell us everything. Is there a way out? With a determined breath, Kate began. I borrowed more money than I could pay back. The bills pile higher every month, and I don't know if I will ever be able to catch up. If we don't do something soon, the words trailed off, the reality settling heavy in the air. Jake shifted, a frown knitting his brow. You can fix it, right? Mom, can mommy fix it? He echoed, looking up at Sarah with trusting eyes. Like she held the answers to all the universe's mysteries. Jake, she felt her heart splinter. We'll find a way. We always do. But doubt colored her voice, and she could see it mirrored in Kate's eyes. We won't give up. We'll talk to our bank together, see if we can work something out. Kate's worried glance met Sarah's, and for the first time, Sarah felt a flicker of hope bubbling up from the depths of her chest. Maybe we can sell the house? She proposed hesitantly, glancing between her sister and her son. Or lighten the load somehow. Rent it out. What if it isn't enough? What if we lose everything? Kate whispered, tears brimming at the edges of her eyes. Then we start over. Jake chirped, determination radiating from him. A sprinkle of childhood innocence as he spoke. You guys can live with us. We got extra space. We could make a new sandcastle. It was a childish, pure idea, the kind Sarah had almost forgotten existed. A warmth spread through her body, even as doubt wrestled inside. Maybe Jake's right. Maybe starting over isn't the worst thing. Could mean new beginnings. Kate looked at her sister, and the glimmer of understanding ignited like a firefly in twilight. We could have family game nights, or bushcraft at the local park. With that shared vision, something shifted in the atmosphere, a subtle, unspoken pact sealed in that moment of honesty. They would rebuild every tower they had placed in this royal sandcastle of a family, brick by brick, decision by decision. Suddenly the stars shone above them like tiny diamonds against the night sky, a backdrop shimmering with possibilities. It felt like a fresh start, promising brighter tomorrows, even amid the weight of today. Just then Jake let out a whoop. Can we go back in the water? That sounds like a brilliant idea. Sarah chimed in, feeling a wash of relief as they rose, united. They headed back toward the shore, Jake leading the way, frolicking in the shadows cast by twinkling stars. Sarah felt an unfamiliar lightness in her heart, turning to look at Kate, who mirrored her smile, fresh hope igniting. Together they jumped into the waves, weaving between joy and future scars. And while the unresolved storm lingered in the distance, the air crackled with new beginnings. As they splashed and played, laughter rippled through the darkness, echoing the promise of resilience. Families could mend and joy could be reclaimed. No matter how tumultuous life got, they would ride it out together. It was time to reclaim what was theirs. Life was never going to be simple, but with each wave they swimmingly embraced the journey ahead, ready to conquer whatever challenges lay in store. Now's the time for you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories that inspire hope and transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It truly makes a difference to keep this content alive. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. We'd love to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the message. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us keep building this community.